Okay, here we are at the Whitman Finance Committee meeting. Today's Tuesday, February 27th. It's 7:07, and we're on the second floor, room 21 of Town Hall. Attendees, we have Chuck Colby, Al Cafferty, Rosemary Connolly. We have Kathleen Otina and myself. So we're a few people missing. We did have people call in. One is sick, one is in training, and one is still MIA, Justin Casanova Davis. Nothing. I have absolutely nothing. I did tell the town moderator we're a little concerned. He actually now we should be preparing to seek his resignation because he's in violation of our policy and procedure manual. So. But it was, we certainly going to trying to. But there's nobody in the pool, I guess, as far as finance committee members, according to the moderator. So we'll give him some latitude. Maybe he's sick. I guess I gotta have to make a call. Find out. So going to the agenda, we have meeting minutes for January 30th and for February 6th in front of us.
You get them for February 6th?
Yep, you have it in front of you. Do you guys have it?
Yeah, I did it. Yeah.
Yeah, last minute came, and then...
I've been at a meeting prior to this
yeah.
meeting, so... There we go.
Hey, it's Ralph.
Hey, Ralph. Hey, Ralph.
So Ralph Mitchell has joined the meeting. We're just going over the agenda, Ralph.
Okay.
Reserve fund stands at $35,000. Public forum, we have nobody here for anything not on the agenda. So with the new business, we did have capital committee scheduled to present at 7:15, and they're not prepared to present at this time recommendations. So we did, if you see on the agenda, reschedule the February. That's another thing we have to do, actually, is reschedule the February 13th budget meetings. Those were the departments, the boards that were going to come present. And then under old business, we'll do the subcommittee reports and communications. We do have one communication. Town administrator will not be joining us, but I did meet with her prior to the meeting, and I'll give you an update on that. And then listed on that page for the agenda are our upcoming meetings. Remember, no meeting next week because it's election day. I did ask Mary Beth to see if the selectmen will meet jointly on the 19th. They are planning to post meetings on the 12th and the 26th. So I suggested the 19th could just be a joint meeting with no other things on the agenda would be the best way for us. We don't have to sit through all the other items on the agenda for the Board of Selectmen. And so that's it. We're rocketing towards May 6th for the annual town meeting. So, maybe with the will of the board, we'll move to the meeting minutes, see if we can tackle those.
Yeah.
So we're starting on January 30th. Everybody has that in front of them. It is quite a lengthy meeting. I did review it. I actually couldn't find anything to amend myself, but it starts on page 671. And this was the meeting where we had the town administrator going over all of the selectmen budget lines. So on the first page, you'll see that the meeting with the town administrator started at 7:10, and it continues all the way to the bottom of the page. Does anybody see anything that they would like to amend? Like I said, I did review it, and it was definitely everything very detailed, this meeting minutes. Okay, so I'll move on to page 672, where we're talking about Department 20, which is South Shore Votech. Then we moved on to Norfolk Aggie and Bristol Agricultural. And then Department 21, which is the Whitman-Hanson Regional School. Department 35, Townwide Services. And Department 14, only to discuss a housekeeping item that we mentioned to the town administrator. In the bottom of the page, we're talking a little bit about the personal property tax question. Anybody see anything on page 673 that they would like to amend? Okay, moving on to, that was 672.
Right.
673 is the next page, so the meeting ended with the town administrator at the top of the page, and then we met with the town clerk. That was a very lengthy meeting too, as you recall. We spent a lot of time on salary for the department head. Talked a lot about what goes on within that department, and talked a little bit about the implications of the Lexington style plan and how it affects this particular budget line. So on the bottom of the page, then the meeting ended with the clerk at 9:40. We went into subcommittee reports, and that's pretty much the end of that page 673. Anybody have anything they want to amend? Yes, Chuck.
Although I wasn't here, and this isn't an amendment, just going over these very detailed minutes, I just found where I read it earlier. I would just want to put it on the record that I am very dismayed still hearing the moving forward by the when the town administrator, or this is back on page 1, moving forward when contracts are negotiated, any agreements like the Lexington plan will be phased out. So just disappointed because I believe we were told these were phased out a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
So,
we share your
I
sentiment.
thought that was a great question by Mr. Noon, and just a little disappointed to hear that still comes up.
Yep.
I want to recognize that Chuck did a lot of work, and that it wasn't just casually. He did a lot of research, showed the damage that this program, that this was doing, that it wasn't producing the retirements that it was intended to do, and that after Chuck's hard work, the promises were made, and they were adamant that it was over, and to have it anywhere,
It is a disappointment.
it's not only a disappointment, it's a great expense, one that Chuck tried to prevent the town from having. And thank
Right.
you, and I'm sorry, I can't imagine, but our disappointment, particularly yours.
Yeah. Good notes from Elizabeth.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. So
Right. Thank
last page is 674. Just communications was about the warrant opening and closing. Motion to adjourn was at 9:45, and then the rest of the meeting, upcoming meetings are written there. So I'll entertain a motion then to accept the meeting minutes from January 30th as presented.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Okay,
2 abstentions.
2 abstentions. All right, the meeting minutes are accepted. Let's move on to February 6th.
Well, I was out on the one that
You were missing.
I was missing, although I was mentioned. Thank you, Rick, for doing
You
that.
ended in
Oh, you read them, yeah.
Yeah, well, I texted you questions. Thank you for asking.
So we're starting on page 675, which was already amended by the recording secretary when she dropped these off at Town Hall today. So the February 6th meeting starts off with the superintendent of schools, Jeff Simonak, and then went through a brief review of the budget because, as you recall, it was going to be presented in its entirety the night after at the library at the Whitman Hanson Regional School. So we got the abridged version. Some very good questions were asked. There were some good back and forth between the committee. And that goes all the way to the end of the page. Anything anybody has to amend? Okay, and then we go on to the back of the page, which is going to be referred to as page 676. 676. That's just another amendment to the document. So we're going on to additional questions and answers by the superintendent. Then that ended and old business items were discussed. Then we talked a little bit about the reserve fund transfer that was put on the agenda and not be necessary. And then communications and the motion to adjourn at 7:50 p.m. Anything on page 676? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to accept the meeting minutes for February 6th as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor? Abstain? Okay, all, it is unanimous. Okay, great. Get them out of the way.
Make a note on just this last page. In these minutes, it was mentioned that we had to be very careful about, because we're borrowing from the school, that our interest rate is based on their E&D and how we fund them to make sure that we can stabilize the E&D. Our bond rating went down at the school, and it's looking like it's going down again. So that's going to particularly hit Whitman when we go to borrow for millions of dollars. I think we need to keep our mind on that. Like I said, it's a penny-wise, pound-foolish attempt to cut back a budget and have on the back end the higher long-term.
There's definitely some financial implications for the town with that.
Particularly Whitman.
No doubt about it. Okay, thank you, Rosemary. So we'll move then on to new business. In your packet, you'll see a spreadsheet, and I'll let Kathleen, as the liaison to the Capital Committee, just do a quick update on the presentation that we are having by the Capital Committee on March 12th now. So, but this would be an opportunity for a little bit of a quick overview of some of the items that are on this capital request for fiscal 25.
Okay, so the progress that we made last Thursday night was to actually get a spreadsheet listing all of the requests with the estimated costs. Many of them have quotes to back them up. Several of them do not. One of the reasons that Don decided and the committee agreed that we weren't ready to present tonight is that the schools have to provide backup, as does the DPW. The DPW just submitted wording as if it were an article before town meeting with no backup information. We did discuss the source of potential source of funding, and Mary Beth is a member of this committee, so the three potential sources of funding for capital items are capital stabilization, which has $680-something thousand in it. Free cash is $1.3 million, and then for the gear that the fire chief has requested for the firefighters, the $300,000 in reserve for ambulance appropriation is a potential source of funding for those items. But we did not vote. We talked about coming up with priorities, and then we did not vote anything. Some people don't have good answers when they're asked for questions about where did you come up with this number. They don't have good answers. So we'll be meeting again. Capital Committee meeting is going to be the Thursday before March 12th, so that we'll meet before the Capital Committee comes in to present to the FinCom. So that, whatever that day is, March 7th. March 7th is the next Capital Committee meeting, at which time hopefully the schools will provide backup, not to say this is what we need, and the DPW will provide backup, and there's a little bit more discussion or emails that have gone out to specific requests saying, could you give us, like for the fire chief, how many, when it says sets of equipment for everybody, well, how many is everybody? Are we talking 20 people? Are we talking 60 people?
Did he show the type of gear?
It did, and
I just, looking at the price tag, I would just be interested to know what firefighting gear cost the last time we bought it. That number seems so high.
Pretty high, yeah.
I want to say we paid $55,000 for firefighting gear last time. Well, maybe that has something
so
to
I
do
think
with
it's because it's
how long ago it was.
It's the number of people that are being outfitted, and we certainly don't want firefighters to be fighting without the appropriate equipment, but when the request came in.
Yeah, we're not talking about having 2 sets per firefighter or something like that either, right?
No,
No.
I don't believe so. Here it is. This is the detail that we were provided.
Okay,
So
I'm sure we'll get that too from.
handsome-looking young man in his gear. The requested amount is $123,786, and the description is to purchase a new set of turnout gear for all members, as our secondary set of gear has turned 10 years old, and the NFPA standard says after 10 years old they've got to be replaced. So the question is, all members, how many members is all members?
So the second set is 10 years old,
Yeah.
right?
So it sounds like a little rotation.
Yeah.
When does the first set become 10 years old?
Will be the next time.
Yeah,
We see this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
His expiration.
That'd be a good question to ask. Is when
Didn't-
when did we buy the last set? Right? Then we'll know.
What, because I don't have internet access here.
Oh.
I know when it was because I have a spreadsheet, but it
Okay.
is not.
There was one that we got from a grant, right?
This is where the 5-year capital plan is crucial, and every time I bring it up at a capital committee meeting, the responses I get are pretty dismal in terms of, well, we can't get people to cooperate. And I specifically asked the 2 department heads who are members of the capital committee, how hard is it? And Todd was amazing. He said, I'm already working on it. I know he is. The other member said, well, I don't know what the prices are going to be, so you can't really come up with a 5-year plan. That's not the point of a 5-year plan. Tell me what you need.
Yeah, even if you don't have price tags, at least
Yeah.
you have.
Price tag.
Yeah.
What are we looking at?
I mean, you can look at it, an estimated escalation.
Yeah, you can always go off the last
We're looking
cost.
for grants and other
Yeah.
ways, and also remember, state and federal budgets have timelines in which you can ask for these supports. Without that list, we don't even know what to ask.
Well, part of the prioritization of capital requests is supposedly linked to, did you apply for a grant? Is there
Yes.
grant money out there? We haven't done any of that this year.
Well, that was part of what we asked for every single budget when we did at least that committee that I was on. That was one of the things I was asking for us to do. Was that removed completely from our approach? Because it seems like it was.
And the other thing that just strikes me is, how many times has the capital committee met total?
Not as often as it should have. We've
Yeah.
been postponed several times. Sometimes it's because of conflicts with other meetings. Other times we just don't meet often enough because we don't have the information from requesting departments. It's a committee that could do a lot of good for this town, but
Well, it's
didn't
millions of dollars of capital
We did
needs.
not submit an annual report, which I asked that we do. Didn't do that.
Capital needs are usually done, a good chunk of them are where you usually get your federal, state supports. I think I've said it in our finance committee handbook, it's very clear. Towns should be receiving 10 to 75% of their budget. We're lower than average wealth index. We are at about 7%, I think I said it. 7% of our taxpayers are not getting the support from the state and federal budget, and it ultimately falls on administration and the selectmen to make sure that that's happening. But that's a resource that actually is calculated into best practices and finances that we're not talking about.
So I just think, and also, good point, but by having one more meeting, the capital committee is going to be prepared to bring this list to the finance committee for recommendation. I mean, it just seems like this is right now where, and I'm not trying to be critical, but where the capital committee is right now is November in my mind, right? We're
I
in
would agree.
March, right?
Last year.
This should have been October, November.
If this was November, I would still say they were behind, because in November they should have had a 5-year plan. I mean, we're behind by years. By years. Do you even have a list of all of our capital? Like, what are we telling the people?
Kathleen, we're not singling you out now. We realize
taking on this task, and you've been the most. We've had a capital committee chair, a member that for many years that has left us in the dark, and we trust our capital committee to do the work and behind the scenes, and then come to us with vetted information, and it's kind of a Wait, have we been voting unvetted information all these years?
Yeah, I'd say yes.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Kathy, for taking this on because it's the best information we've gotten back.
Right. So in the next meeting, the charge is to get these prioritized, because there's going to be a dollar figure we're going to reach when we start culling some of these things out. We're going to get to a dollar figure and say that's all you got, because guess what? We're taking some money out of stabilization to balance the budget. Free cash. We're probably taking free cash out of the budget. I mean, we're probably taking money out of free cash to balance the budget.
Free cash right now. This is based on the information Mary Beth actually sent us on February 14th. Rick, I think you've submitted it to the rest of us. She has a tab that talks about fund balances. And capital stabilization has $674,000.
It's not a lot.
General
Not a lot,
stabilization is $2.4 million. Free cash is $1.3 million. And the reserve for appropriation ambulance is $300,000.
Yeah, so it's not a lot, that's for sure.
I have a question. Why are Chapter 90 eligible things in this?
That's why the DPW needs to get back to us, Rosemary. They just sent us.
All of these are Chapter 90 eligible.
We said that at the meeting last Thursday. This is one request for a wing snow plow that will add 10 foot to a 12-foot snow plow, so now we'll have a 22-foot snow plow.
We just had a Saturday. We just had a big meeting where the mayor of Brockton talked about how Lynch and Brady got them a brand new pool.
These are the two requests from the DPW.
That's
They
it?
look like articles. They don't look like there's no backup.
lining.
So I agree.
This is all pool stuff.
100,000.
This is all pool. We could probably. Why couldn't our state reps be doing this? Why couldn't our represent Lynch and Brady be? Why isn't anybody reaching out to them to help us to do this? We taking so little aid.
And so that was discussed, grant money and that type of thing for some of these projects?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The comment was, this is what they use every year. They replay. We should just say this is for the roads. In addition to the Chapter 90, we do $100,000 worth of roads every year. We do $100,000 worth of sidewalks every year. Not this piece of paper that says come from the Capital Committee. So this is, hopefully Don will have had the time to follow up with Bruce and find out more, get more details from him.
Okay. Anybody else have anything? I mean, this is preliminary discussion because really we were getting a presentation from the Capital Committee at our next meeting on the 12th. So.
I want to say that we're going to have to produce a preliminary budget. If they're looking for an override from the schools, ultimately, if that override fails, or they don't choose to participate in having a preliminary budget produced on the school side, we're going to come back and we still have to produce a balanced budget. That's a bill, just like all the other, and whatever. And it is my belief that that is a dangerous political theater. We get a bill and we pay a bill. Or we say we won't pay a bill on town hall floor. This, override at the school thing it goes back, and then the school has to do that. This override at the school thing, it's not real. But we still have to guide this town financially into a responsible place. So we've got to start thinking about places where it lands. If we get that bill and this goes back and it says this is your bill, you're paying it. It's going to town hall floor. We have to still make sure that this budget is balanced.
So my conversation with Mary Beth before the meeting was, we're looking for a new Article 2 with a balanced budget. I mean, that's her responsibility, is to present a balanced budget.
Contingency budget is what I would suggest.
It's going to be...
The Finance Committee will do a standard budget and a contingency budget.
Right.
Well, as of right now, put the schools aside. There's a 5% placeholder in Article 2 for the schools, which the schools will talk tomorrow about trying to cut their budget. But the town is over by $1.1 million. That's our deficit right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck finding $1.1 million.
So let's talk a little bit as a committee about what the overall sense of the committee is. You've all heard the presentation from the Board of Selectmen meeting where they're looking for the schools to have an override. Anything that's submitted for an assessment over 5% is going to be incorporated into a school override. Well, realistically, the school has to be on board with that scenario. And what was stated in the Board of Selectmen meeting by Sean Kane was, well, if they're not, then we're going to have to pivot. So that there's a big pivot, right?
That pivot lies on us.
Right,
And
it does. So I guess, in my sense, the departments have been just as dependent on the federal and state money from ARPA as the schools have, in a little different way, obviously, but they have maintained a level of spending that goes beyond sustainability, just as they accuse the school of, right? Mm-hmm. So in my mind, if we're looking at a budget override, or Proposition 2 and override, we should be looking at a total departmental override for all departments.
Everything,
including the schools.
Limit override.
I think it's irresponsible to look for an override when you haven't met your obligation to state and federal grants provided to your town. It's very clear in that Finance Committee handbook. It's very clear that every town needs the support of state and federal monies to make sure their taxpayers are paying affordable. The majority of our revenue comes from the average taxpayer. We have no other base. That is our stakeholder. That's the one we have to be thinking about, and that's who we should be really making sure that everyone's on board. Before you ask anything from the levy, you've gone and you've found it at the state and federal level, and we're afforded at a minimum about 10%. At a minimum, we have to 75%. Brockton's got 50%, and I understand it's a city, but 50% of the budget. The wealth index isn't much different.
Those points are well taken, but just remember,
So
it's March. Right now, it's March, right?
I know.
So is this the time to be go shopping around?
I don't know if we should do something more temporarily. I feel as if people didn't do their job, and the taxpayer's going to pay.
Right. Yeah. But here's the other part of it too, right? The implications of the large capital investments that we have on the books for the three major capital projects are yet to be realized in the tax base, right? Mm-hmm. So if we're going to do an override, in my mind, this is the year to do it. Fiscal 25.
If we're going to do an override, then it's we've got to pull back somewhere next year, and we've got to overrides are forever, whereas the problem isn't forever.
Well, right now we have an unsustainable budget, which we were told 8 years ago we were going to have an override, right?
I think I'm going to blow my top, and I'm sorry I'm going to say this, that a bunch of people that advocated paying another town's taxes and a bunch of people that gave a 1.5 tax break to National Grid, a Fortune 500, are going to turn around and ask the average taxpayer to pay for an override. To me, at one point, I want to turn around and say, get your money back from your friends. I don't, we know that those are the numbers. We know they did these things.
Right. So, yeah, there's no way that you can say that we're in this financial distress because of proper fiscal management, right?
And these are things the Finance Committee have control over. We don't have control over what the assessor did and what the selectmen, when they voted in. We have no control. We are landed with the levy, and we're not collecting to the full levy, and we don't have control over that.
Right. But I think the chances of Hanson writing us a check for $500,000 this year is pretty remote.
Well,
right?
It would be $500,000.
It should be.
It's a lot more than half.
4.5.
4.4. That's not even including the busing.
Right. Well, I'm just saying that was a one-time loan.
Busing. Yeah. Right now, they're not even making equal effort at the town level, and we're going to ask our average taxpayer to up their increase. Well, I don't know what to say, and we're going to risk people's jobs that are honestly because of people in. I feel like we need to do another article to inform the public about really where the money went. Just and I think we're responsible to say.
Well, I think if we're going to market an override, we absolutely should. Someone should take ownership of
Well, then, if we do an
how
override,
we got here.
I think we should then put an underride. It'd be the first time we do that. To say, I want corrections and a commitment for an underride, which is the opposite, to pull back at the rate, do a period of time in which we pull back at the rate where we hold them accountable for making sure they get grants and aid and sustainable percentage of budget that they're getting outside for the taxpayer. So at what point there's relief? I think if we're doing it, if you're right now saying, hey, we're too late to go back and get that aid.
Well, don't you think we are?
Oh, we definitely are. But at one point we recognize it was from the neglect. At one point, and then we pull back with an underride to offset it and hold them accountable every year to the grants and the amounts and the supports that our taxpayers are receiving.
Well, I don't say that we should get an override to fully fund these department budgets that came in. I think we should be also, letting the taxpayer know that we're advocating for these budgets to get cut back, way back. Yeah. So not only are we going to look at an override that could sustain us for the next 3 or 4 years, but we're also going to get back to a sustainability within each budget. And it should incorporate looking for...
Oh, didn't we hire people? Didn't we increase people's salaries because they were going to bring in more grants? They were going to bring in money. Our grants went down. Our percentage of budget went down since we've hired people. I think we are owed an explanation to that.
Okay. All right. All those are great points. And like I said, I'm just trying to get a sense from the entire board about how we're going to go forward in this budget cycle. I mean, is there anybody adamantly opposed that we shouldn't be looking to have an override?
I'm adamantly opposed to an override. I am.
Okay.
I'm adamantly opposed to an override because essentially it
I'm opposed to an override too, as well, right?
because it's not because it's not because the average price of things went up that we're in this position. It's not, and particularly at the schools, because we're paying the smallest amount. We're paying below average for the school amounts. But if we were to compare salaries and other things, we're paying above average for certain salaries, ones that are supposed to be writing grants, quite frankly. And I would like to put the onus on the problem.
Okay.
To
Yeah.
answer your question, I am not opposed to going for an override once the budgets have been paired.
Okay.
Right now, where we are is wants, not needs. Once we get down to the needs, then we'll see what's the difference.
Right.
I know, having spoken to Jeff this afternoon, because I was at the Whitman Middle School Building Committee meeting at 4:30, he will be presenting budget cuts tomorrow night at the school committee. So that $1.9 million increase in our assessment, it's going to go down. Will it go down to the level that the 5% placeholder gives him? I doubt it, but it's going to go down.
Right, yeah.
It's going to go down. So let the schools pay their budget. Let Mary Beth do whatever it is that she's planning to do. As I said to her whenever I saw her earlier, at middle school building committee, where are you going to cut things like the Council on Aging, take away the janitorial service?
Yeah. Right.
No paper towels.
Yeah, so that it's the big budgets that have the places that you just have to go look and say, this is not the year to add new positions. This is not the year to
We're not going.
buy stuff.
The 30, how much are they paying per computer, and there's 30 computers?
1,000 something.
Per computer, 1,000 something.
It'd be nice to have Mike's perspective on that, because he was pretty adamant about the way they're purchasing computers. It's not what we do in the 21st century. We don't just keep buying computers. He was pretty vocal about it. So I'd like to get his insight.
Yeah, and he is an expert in that.
Yeah.
So he does have the doctor.
So some of these items on the capital list too. This isn't the year. So to break it down just a little further, is there anyone that is in favor of the proposal that was brought forth at the Board of Selectmen's meeting that said anything over 5% assessment brought to the town we're recommending that a warrant article be placed for an override for the schools?
I completely oppose that.
I can 100% oppose
Completely
that.
oppose that.
And I'm adamantly opposed to that as well.
Yeah, I'm opposed to just
bad finance. It's bad finance in theater.
So whatever whatever direction we go in, I think we need to have a group effort here. You know what I mean? And I don't think that that presenting that in the last Board of Selectmen meeting was that collective will approach. I mean, it seemed like this is our idea and this is what we're going to go with. So. Unless the school is on board with it, it's not going to fly.
Jeff was at the meeting that Mary Beth discussed with the department heads. We've got a problem here, folks. He left the meeting with no sense that someone was going to ask the schools to run their own override for anything above the 5%.
Right.
And at 1:10 Tuesday afternoon, the agenda was changed to include discuss school override.
Yeah.
That came solely from the Board of Selectmen with no even courtesy call to the schools. Guess what we have on our agenda tonight?
Right. So I appreciate you guys being at the Board of Selectmen's meeting to recognize that that it's not really using a collective approach. So yes, they brought John Galvin to the front of the room to bolster their plan, but that, to me...
I do think it's inappropriate to have a person who has been on the Finance Committee for such a short time to be falsely representing the Finance Committee.
Well, he didn't present himself as a Finance Committee member, so...
I think over and over again he's seen... the methods that he's brought forward for the Galvin-Kane method in our meeting ended up being fraudulent. Even though our committee had responsibly brought forward Kathy Otina, that we were doing the busing incorrectly, he is not representing our committee's collective efforts to properly finance and properly follow those financial laws. And to some degree, what I'm saying that his presence there was theater.
He's just a private citizen like anybody else with no standing in the town.
No.
But like I said, when we're looking for collaboration, that's not helpful.
No, it
to bring someone that was formerly a Finance Committee member in as your spokesperson for your proposal, to me, it's not. It's not working together. So.
And I just want to say, I was not there for that purpose. Kathy, thank you for being there for that purpose. I was there because we were. I'm concerned about our veterans. We are not going to be able to apply to CMR laws if we don't increase with the HEROES Act and other things. So I put forward an account that we can fund with private money, so that the veterans officer has direct access to. So I was there for a separate...
You did a citizen's petition, right?
Yes, I did a citizen's petition.
But it seems like they're going to embrace it and endorse it as a warrant article. Didn't you get that?
I hope that that's the case. I did. Yeah. But we have other... I mean, these are ways that you... Like I said, we can do financing without pulling from the levy and the most vulnerable, where we can fundraise and do things, and protect, and make sure that we're handling these new additions to the CMR.
All right. Well, I think that's all good discussions we need to have. I mean, it'd be better if we have all the members here for the next meeting so that we can really kind of make a plan for a joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen on the 19th, so we can present what we would hope we could have a collaborative effort with both the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen, instead of having two separate budgets as we've seen before. That's not the way we want to go.
Can I go? I want to. As we look at this budget at the beginning of this year, I'm going to pull out a little retro sketch just so everybody's going to hit me with it. I know. I was adamant to say not to spend money that the schools had sent back. And I was adamant for a reason, and I know that people were upset that I had said that. This is why. Because when all the budgets come in and we look at it as a whole picture, sometimes things look more important than other things, or things come up at this point. So it's really important not to spend it until you see everything, and to really make sure that it all goes into that free cash and it's equitably dispersed, so that we are spending to service equitably every single citizen. We're in trouble partially, not entirely, but partially because of those things as well.
I agree. Yep, thank you. All right, looking at the agenda for the next item under new business is to reschedule the 2/13 budget meetings. So some of the departments are boards were more receptive to coming before our committee. Some of them were confused why they were being asked or summoned. So
Inquisition.
I think we should give them another opportunity if they want to come. Just looking for does anybody have a copy of the schedule?
Yes, I have it up in front of me.
So we've got in my mind, we have the 5th is the election, so we don't have that. The 12th is capital. We don't really want to put anything else on that either because that should be a lengthy meeting.
Yep.
The 19th is going to be jointly with the Board of Selectmen, so perhaps the March 26th would be a good opportunity for bringing back the planning board and the
Conservation
Concert.
and historical.
and historical. All right, does anybody have a problem with that? 326, it still
No,
gives
yeah.
us plenty of time to have 4 meetings to talk about. We probably won't even have a copy of the warrant by then anyway, I would imagine. If anything goes the way it has gone in the past. When are we supposed to get the assessment from the school?
Oh, they won't be voting it. What do we figure? March 20th is the deadline. I plan to attend tomorrow night's meeting because I know Jeff has been working furiously to get the number down. So it will be interesting to see what has been reduced, what's been eliminated from the budget. I don't believe that they will be voting the budget tomorrow night. So probably 2 weeks after that, it'll be partly their first meeting in March. They'll certify, but I'm just guessing.
Okay.
I'll find out. I will actually ask Jeff tomorrow night when are they going to vote the budget.
All right, so it'll be critically important then in April that we have 4 meetings in April. April 2nd, April 9th, April 16th, and April 23rd. That gives us our opportunity to review the Article 2, work collaboratively with the Board of Selectmen to decide, based on the assessment, where we go. Are we looking for an operational override or not looking for operational override? So this conversation that we're had tonight, I think, is a good base for us to kind of give them a sense of where we're looking. So
Yeah, so I want to remind everybody, the determination for an override does not come from the Finance Committee. It is something that goes,
Comes from the BOS.
it's a decision of the Board of Selectmen. What we have to provide is a path financially forward for the town, no matter whether it fails or if it doesn't.
Right.
Because when they do offer an option for an override, particularly in this contentious environment, we do have to do a contingency budget. So there'll be 2 budgets that we'll be creating.
Yep, and I remember we did that before. We went through that exercise the last time we did a operational override. So
And
okay.
as Kathy said, as Jeff's been working to look at options to bring his budget down, I'm anxiously awaiting what the town administrator will bring to the table.
Well, the town administrator at our meeting tonight reminded me about the fact that she had a departmental meeting with the budget managers. As Kathy said, the school was also there, and asked them, help me, take your budget down, or I have to take it down for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's going to be cuts one way or the other. But so what we get for the next Article 2 would be should be a balanced budget. So.
And I just share that Mary Beth had scheduled 1 hour for that meeting with the budget manager, the department managers. She gave her opening remarks, and she said that the silence was deafening. And she said, I guess we're going to end this meeting a lot sooner than the hour I had planned for it. Nobody came up with 20 grand here. No, she said, I'll get my pencil out and I'll do it for you guys.
Can I just make a note that it is not improper budgeting on our departments, our fire, police. We're not above average, and they've done good jobs. It is the lack of aid and support in grants that really you could pinpoint. And that's why I fought for Chapter 7 to be done.
Sure did.
It's why I fought for Chapter 90 when I did it, because it's clear. I mean, you can't go this long. Either this massive, it's deliberate, or it's for a long-term problem in our administration. That this is why. So I think it's a real failing to even point to our department heads for their funding.
Well, like you said, it's disappointing if the numbers on our access to grants has gone down, where when they were trying to figure out the job title of who they wanted to hire as assistant town administrator or a grant writer or an HR person over the last couple of years. There was that constant discussion on what do we want, what do we need. I think we all need somebody who can go out and get that money,
Get that funding.
get that funding.
And here
that's,
we are.
that's so important.
Here we are, looking at things that are regularly funded by grants here, and this is kind of why you have a capital committee, so that you're on top of that, because to get the grants, to get your state reps, that takes about a year. You've got to be in contact.
You got to start working it, right?
You got to start working. You got to write these things, and
Yeah.
it's a full-time job often.
And then
I thought we hired people for that.
And if we had that, let's say we had that funding, all this money could go towards the.
Well, it would be at least. So another concern I want to say is, when you say why don't people take in grants? Well, because there's a lot of oversight with grants. So that concerns me. Who doesn't want the oversight? The average stakeholder in Whitman certainly doesn't mind it.
We all know that the state and federal reimbursement to this towns is going away. I mean, it's going away. It's being cut. We're not going to get as much use for anything.
But we're not asking.
I know. I'm
Yeah.
asking. I know.
Yeah.
But still, even that pool of money, it's not going to be there.
State and federal cuts we're less than 10%. Even if we were going after our cut version,
Yeah.
we'd be on average closer to 20 and 30. You know what I mean?
You're right, though, Al.
I'm telling you right now.
The pools are drying up, but
Yeah.
we're not even asking.
We're not even
Yeah.
asking for that.
No.
Well, so that might be that would be so. The way that you handle that is that you put, and it's even in our policy. We're supposed to be putting aside in our stabilization account 20% of all grant and things. So it doesn't fluctuate more than 20% on average. So it doesn't dry up. It doesn't go away completely. It fluctuates, and then it pops up. So you have less in one
Right, you have
area.
a good economy, you have excess money,
So-
now with things
so
going south, they're
basically-
going to cut some, some of these earmarks
that
are going
means
to be
you
cut
go
out of the
for-
budgets.
But that means you apply for more.
Yeah.
That means you do more.
Right.
Doesn't mean
Yeah.
you do less.
You work harder.
Yeah.
Work harder. Just a little harder. But we haven't even worked at all.
Well,
Okay,
it is.
good point. All right, so here we are then. We rescheduled, so we'll get, that'll be me. I'll get the notice out for the boards. And then old business, subcommittee reports, capital committee.
You've heard from the audience on that one.
Yes, we did. Anything from the agreement amendment committee?
It was canceled yesterday. The canceled meeting that was rescheduled for yesterday was canceled yesterday. I do not know why, and it's not rescheduled. And I am still adamant that we are going to get the transportation language changed, or I will recommend that this committee oppose the funding of non-mandated busing. If they won't vote to fund busing as part of their budget, there's $181,000 just sticking out there as non-mandated to Whitman. We're paying at least $40,000 more than we should. And so if they won't change the wording, then I am prepared to stand up at town meeting and say, I move that we eliminate the $181,000.
Well, we'll talk about it in Article 2 discussion. And
Yeah.
we recommending for the finance.
There's no incentive for Hanson to go along with it unless their life is made miserable by not being able to bus their kids, with Whitman saying, we're not going to continue to subsidize this busing. So they either bus according to the district provides busing, and it'll be apportioned based on the percentage of students in each town, or pay as you go, and we'll pay for our kids, you pay for your kids.
Right.
And we'll save a good $40,000, $80,000 in Whitman taxpayer.
Good point. All right, so then middle school building committee today?
We met this afternoon. It is very exciting to see the building 3D images being presented in a public forum. We didn't talk about the bond or the financing of it, but the plan is to have a public forum at the middle school sometime in May, just as they had prior public, so that people can still go to these meetings and find out what's going on. The presentation was amazing. We're videotaped, so you can watch the video, but we are putting the feet to the fire for staying under budget. There was not a lot of discussion tonight because we didn't do a lot of money talk. We did more of the concept talk, but I spoke with the OPM after the meeting. I said we need to keep these numbers low and we want to save money. So come in under budget. And he mentioned 2 projects. Webster came in $1,300,000 under budget, and Haverhill Middle School is going out to bid, and he anticipates, he being Mike Carroll, anticipates that will also come in under the budget. So I think we asked for the money when things were really high during COVID, when the prices were astronomical and unrealistic, and now that things are quieting down, the prices are also quieting down. So,
Yeah.
so that's where we are. We meet again on March 26th. That's our next meeting. And that would be more money information than concept information.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So as far as the Public Works Building Department, we met yesterday. So we had two agendas. Basically, we had a general agenda, and then it was the kickoff meeting, the pre-construction kickoff meeting. So the initial meeting, the elephant in the room is still this funding that is tied up in the legislation.
Legislation still waiting.
Special legislation is still not here. Now we're looking for a shovel in the ground on March 1st. We have $1.1 million available, right? So that will fund this project through the end of March. April, probably by the 10th of April, we'll be out of money if that special legislation doesn't come through.
So before town meeting.
So, yeah. So I made a suggestion that we put a placeholder on town meeting that puts this back on the warrant as a worst case scenario.
That's dangerous.
It is dangerous. Absolutely dangerous.
What other choices do we have?
We have no other choices.
We didn't handle our capital well, we know that. This was long before we came to the thing. This is a correction that people don't want to make financially, particularly with overrides, that if they don't make, it's going to hurt them long term.
Well, I think that we demonstrated that when we presented this at town meeting last year. It said, we didn't fund this back 15 years ago, and we're paying the price. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So, in a moment where we've got political strife and theater, and I'm going to call it exactly that, when we're dealing with numbers and facts and impact, and we have the stuff that's going on, I think we could end up having a situation that's going to cost the taxpayers long term a lot and have wasted millions of dollars if we put it back on the ballot. That legislation is
but it's critical. So there's absolutely nothing that says that this special legislation is going to fail. I mean, the possibility of that is so minute it doesn't even come into a fraction. But it's the delay that's causing quite a difficult position between the town and the general contractor. And to be honest, the contractor has been very patient and understanding. So they are mobilizing on Friday, and they're going to start putting up temporary fencing. They're going to start putting up barriers for conservation and all that. So they're moving forward.
So let me just ask you a question, trying to think this through. So if that special legislation doesn't happen, when you say put it back on, so are we going to go back to the town, even though it's just a change of the wording, and just ask them to refund this DPW in this current environment, and they voted as no, and then we're SOL?
We wasted a ton of money.
That is
This is where I'm saying this is dangerous.
It is dangerous.
Very dangerous.
But listen to the presentation to the town would be, why would you say no? Right? I mean, at this point, we have a contractor mobilized to the job site and well underway to get the project going.
This is where I'm going to clarify what I mean by political theater.
I know, but listen, let me just get through this first.
You get them riled up, and then you put important things. It's distractionary. It's to get them afraid of the cost. It's going to hurt them long term. All of this stuff. If they don't make our recommendations are the soundest financial path forward.
That's right.
Always.
Right. We can only
and then they're
relay that.
Distracting from those recommendations, and they're going to wind up putting that in the middle of those, just in that confused
They'll use
taxpayer.
that. Yeah, that's what I mean, confused taxpayer, because I think we all know the temperature of the taxpayer out there.
I don't think
psyche right now.
It's not temperature.
They're probably not even going to want to put it on the warrant because of that fact, because of the danger, right?
Yeah.
So ride it out. You can put the job site on hold as a worst case scenario, right? And then cost escalation, right?
So who's in charge? Why is this taking so long?
It's on the third reading in the House and the third reading in the Senate. Usually it goes through 3 readings to see if there's any opposition. Then it goes to a vote, and then it goes to the governor's desk. They said this would be long over with, you know.
And so it has had no opposition in the other 2 readings,
Nope.
correct?
Where's your rent?
I'll message him. I've been messaging him about the Heroes Act.
I've texted him
Okay.
several times as well. So
Well, I'm going to hand in his
the,
papers. I
the
have
local
them right here.
representative?
yeah, you've got Brady,
So if you want,
Senator Brady.
if anybody wants to give me an excuse to run up and talk to these people, are you independent?
I am.
Rosemary, let's wait till the end of the
Wait
meeting.
till the end of the meeting.
I have papers for them. I'll give them to you.
Okay, so here we are, trying to get back to my pre-construction meeting.
All right.
So we talked a little bit about, you know, who are the people. The final day of construction will be March 30th, 2025. We've rewritten the notice to proceed, incorporating the challenges that we have with finances, but still, they're held to this date, and there'll be liquidated damages if they go beyond this date. So, March 30th, 2025, that is the final day of construction. The project will be complete. So then we just talked a lot about, like, who's going to be in charge of sitting in the pencil wrecks and all that. One of the other things to note is the dog pound is offline during construction, because where it is. So I mean, I remember Mary Beth was talking about coordinating something with other towns. So during construction, which is for the next year, there won't be any dog pound available. So, and then they're also relocating the leaf pile, so that you know, that's another big thing for town residents.
Yeah.
They want to be able to access the leaf
heavily
pile.
used there.
Yeah, yeah. So, in all, it was a good meeting with the general contractor, and we were appreciative to the fact that they've been so patient given the financial challenges coming out of the gate here. And we talked a little bit about long lead time items and making sure that, you know, there weren't going to be any delays associated with long lead time items based on the availability of funds early on, too, you know. So that's where we are with that. And okay, so Whitman Hanson Regional School District audit, I would guess that's still ongoing. I haven't heard that it's done.
That would be sent to the 2 boards of the select board and Hanson and the BOSD, right?
Yeah, I would think.
Yeah. Because
So
schools know nothing. I mean, schools are not involved in it other
Right.
than cooperating with questions.
Yep. So does anybody have anything else you want to add to the fiscal 25 budget discussion? So we can get out of here a little bit early, because
we had, I want to add about how important meeting that MBTA Community Act is, and that we're really far beyond. We're sort of just making it by the skin of our teeth, and there was a delay to run it through the bylaw committee. So basically, if the bylaw committee delays it at any amount and doesn't take it seriously and doesn't allow it, it won't go to the ballot, and we're going to end up losing a lot of money.
Yeah, I think in light of what the recent events in Milton and
Yeah.
what's going on,
I have been yelling about this.
Yeah, no,
for
you
about a
have
year.
been. Yep, no. When I watch
certainly-
when I see some of this news, I think of you.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing when I saw it today.
Yeah, no, it's all, you know, it's good, good forward thinking there, and yeah, it does have repercussions.
We're certainly going to need that cleanup money.
Well, it's more than the cleanup money. We had some complaints from local senior citizens about how they now have to apply with the town for their circuit breaker. And I just want people to understand the circuit breaker is money that comes from the state government that subsidizes the town. Right now, we're pulling it from our levy. Remember, it's great, we'll give seniors discounts. Actually, all it did was divert into the levy and shrink the levy. And in preparation, it seems like, for us being cut off from the state. So that really concerns me because it's an action that indicates purposeful preparation to not take in state aid. And that's really concerning. So I want to revisit that and change that bylaw possibly to say if you can't apply for the state circuit breaker, you can then do it with the town. Because it's not offering a double down effect for our senior citizens. It's just shrinking the levy. So the services we can provide them right now shrunk, and we don't take in as much money.
Good point. All right, there was one communication from Norfolk County Agricultural High School. They set their base and capital rate for in and out of county students. So this is going to affect this line, I think. So there are 6 students who have applied for admission for 24-25 school year. It says, please be aware that as the year unfolds, enrollment may change. Additional students may be offered admission and will move from the wait list to active enrollment. Conversely, some students withdraw from enrollment. So, and this comes from the Superintendent Director, John Martin, at the Norfolk County Agricultural High School. So,
How much of that amounts?
Yeah, what's the tuition rate?
so out of county tuition rate base is $26,198.
Per person.
And then you add the capital of $1,707, it comes to $27,905.
28. Yeah, 28.
So that does not include include busing. Can you
Busing,
repeat
yeah.
what the busing was per person? Do
Busing
you
per
remember
person?
what the bus? It wasn't on there, but do you remember?
That was Bristol, and it was 19,000
Oh,
for one
Yeah, there was
One
one
student.
student. Yeah, not this.
That
That wasn't this one.
Oh, that was Bristol. It wasn't. I thought it was Norfolk.
It was a one student.
But we also have busing in there that's not included.
Right, but that's the line item in the vocational on Article 2 for busing vocational students.
So out of
It's in there.
district is only a 3% reimbursement. I want to remind everyone. So, Kathy, you had mentioned something about possibly reviewing.
Oh, that the Commissioner of Education, so it has to do with how can you tell students you can't go to this school. We're not going to pay $19,000 to put you in a cab and send you, however the heck they do it. The Commissioner of Education can deny a student's application to a vocational school if the cost of transportation exceeds the cost of local transportation by some factor. And our cost of local transportation doesn't begin to come to $19,000.
Can you print that out and forward that to the...
Rosemary sent me some of the legislation. I read that and I said, I can't find it. She's really very good.
She finds things.
She's
You know,
really
the only reason you
I
find things
remember
is
she
if you
said
look
that
at
instead
things.
of paying $19,000, just buy the
Hi,
parents a
Dr.
new
Conley. How
car.
are you? Rosemary, if you don't want to, don't let her take your work.
Give them a car.
All right, does anybody have anything else they want to bring up?
Just these vocational education costs, and I don't oppose vocational education. I have family members who are successful in life because they went to vocational schools, but they are not insignificant. We're looking at $2.3 million in total vocational costs, and nobody ever questions them going up.
No, Calvin was over there cheering them on.
Yeah. Get the biggest, the best, and add those two programs. We're looking at, a $2 million increase to the Whitman assessment is the current building, not the budget building costs, the operating costs.
Yeah.
There's a fellow from Auburn Street, Bob Kimball, who shows up at Board of Selectmen meetings.
That's
He's a
right.
former politician from Braintree. He knows his stuff, and he's asked on
right.
me, how many more teachers are you going to have to hire to
Yeah.
this 900
I remember,
student
yeah.
school? And what about those programs that you've just added? And those just fly under the radar.
So they didn't fly under the radar because we were at the meeting, the building committee meeting. It's around $2 million to Whitman, I believe.
Yes.
And that's with the current enrollment. Now they're adding the availability
Packages,
for another 17 students. So we're going to be probably 3 times what we are now because we're already double our enrollment. There is a tipping point in which when we developed vocational schools, the reason we were doing that is because it was cheaper. There wasn't as many students that went, so it was cheaper to outsource. And it's great because vocational programs are amazing. They're the beginning of industry. You want them. So, but you have to decide where you're going to supply it. Where's the best cost-effective way to supply that? You really don't want to outsource a service to another town and have your kids split out into another town if you have enough kids to insource it or to have it publicly. And, first of all, Mr. Hickey is brilliant, and there's probably no one better to have the program. But you almost want to say, hey, Hickey, why don't you run that stuff here in Whitman, But So I want to compliment his program, and even in his new idea for the school, it could save us for sending kids out to Aggie. I want to compliment, but I'm not saying that. But we have to sit back and be practical, and say, what's that tipping point? And we've passed it. Usually, the tipping point where you start to think about it is when you surpass your allotment. That's a percentage of that grade.
When you're
This is
averaging
just the
higher
high
and
school we're
higher.
talking about.
Yeah.
That $3 million is just high school kids. Regularly in school finance, high schools begin when children are in high school, they cost less, not more. And remember, we're already paying for half those programs because half of a vocational program is just standard high school.
Regular.
So we have to start considering and thinking, because right now, if we sign on to this build and we move on to this build, we don't go back. We continue down that road of increasing amounts, and we don't have that control. Weymouth has a model of in-housing within their school. We could handle declining enrollment. Remember, Mr. Kane said it. Hey, VOTEC has increasing enrollment, and this high school has declining enrollment. And, they're going to ignore the fact that they're depleting the high school and not providing it. And they're squeezing kids outside the system. And I know the selectmen listen to this. They want to look at Provincetown. Per student amounts are the highest in Massachusetts, and they use that same model. You don't want it. It's cheaper to keep them. It's cheaper to provide it locally.
Okay, something to think about. All right, thank you, Rosemary. All right, with that, if there's no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you all. Enjoy your week.
Now, what's
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you so